Welcome to the second episode of the Port series. If you're new to this series, see the card up here, somewhere, to check out the introduction to what this series is all about. Now, if you want a private, open and responsible operating system, you can hardly go wrong with Linux. I'll be making a video about different Linux distributions and how to choose between them depending on your needs. But before that, we actually need a machine to run it on. Now, if there was one laptop to rule them all, then there wouldn't be any need for this video since everyone would just buy that one. The reality is that which machine you need depends on what you want to do with it. So the first step is to establish your requirements. As a power user, here are my requirements. I need to be able to move my machine around between rooms, in my house, and occasionally take it to work or on location. I also need it to be powerful and not restricted, which pretty much means I need a laptop. It needs to have 100% Linux support, since of course I'm running Linux on it. Everything on the laptop should work just as well as if it were running Windows. This includes any software bundled with the laptop. I don't want to be a second-class citizen. I want it to have a 13-inch or at most a 15-inch display to make it portable. When I need a bigger display, I'll just use an external monitor. It needs to have a relatively powerful CPU, such as an Intel Core i9 or i7, or technically an AMD Ryzen 7. Now I say technically there because I also need a Thunderbolt port, since I have many Thunderbolt devices and use the high-speed transfer, as well as the single cable charging features. So that pretty much restricts me to Intel, at least for now. I need to have at least 32 gigabytes of RAM, since I need to run virtual machines and other stuff. And it needs to have a powerful graphics card, so I can game, as well as render videos and stuff. I'd like at least an RTX 3060 or an AMD 6700 XT. It also needs to have solid build quality with minimal body flex and ideally a metal construction. It should also not have a gamer aesthetic, since I just find that tacky. Now finally, my budget is of around 2,400 euro, that's about $2,800, and that should include delivery, import duties, and anything else. Now, the requirement of me having a graphics card unfortunately means that I really can't go for a framework laptop. Honestly speaking, the framework laptop would probably be the most in line with this series, since it's the most open laptop and it's super easy to repair. But I really need that graphics card, and the framework laptop currently doesn't have a dedicated GPU. Now, when it comes to Linux laptops, there are two options. You can buy pretty much any laptop, even if it's not made for Linux, and just install Linux on it. Alternatively, you can buy a laptop specifically made for Linux. I'm going to be investigating both options. Let's start by looking at non-Linux specific laptops which fit my requirements. When it comes to laptops on Linux, the Lenovo ThinkPad range is an industry standard. Using the Lenovo website, I filtered down their laptops by specs from here, and this results in these two laptops here, the ThinkPad X1 Extreme Gen 4 and the ThinkPad T15G Gen 2. Looking at the X1 Extreme, this seems like a very nice laptop. As you can see, it opens to 180 degrees. And if we look at the media here, it's actually a very nice looking device. These ThinkPad laptops have that typical IBM era charm here. What's interesting about this laptop is that this is a 16-inch 16 by 10 display. Now this is bigger than I want, except they've managed to fit it into the same size laptop as their typical 15-inch models, just by making the bezels smaller. If we look at the technical specifications down here, you can see that they have up to a Core i9. This is the display. As you can see, they have several options here. Obviously, the resolution is a bit weird again due to the aspect ratio. They can be configured with up to 64 gigs of RAM and up to an RTX 3080. Interestingly, this laptop also has a built-in fingerprint reader, and it has really nice specs here. And you can see the ports here as well that are offered, including USB-A 3.2 and even 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports. The problem is that if we look at this laptop, we can see the price here, but that's obviously for the base model. So if I go to customize here, and I'm just gonna customize this as I would need it. Interestingly, you can see here that you can actually buy the laptop without an operating system, and this knocks £60, 60 British pounds in this case, off the price, which is pretty cool. I'll configure it with 32 gigabytes of RAM, and I don't need a second drive, and I'll keep the 1600p display, and we'll go up to 3060. The 3080 is only available if you have the 4K display. And everything else seems to be fine. Now, as you can see here, with my configuration, that goes to £2,265.75. But remember that this is in pounds. And what's even worse, you can see here that it ships in more than 6 weeks, which is why there is probably this huge discount here. You can see that if it were shipping in a reasonable amount of time, the actual price would be 2,700 British pounds. So this is a bit above my budget. Looking at the other Lenovo option, we have the T15G Gen 2. So this is a very expensive laptop, as you can see here, £3,471, at least with this configuration. Now, interestingly, if we look at the specs here, you can see that it actually comes with a 1080p display, which is a 15-inch, but this one is configured with a 3080 Max-Q. Now again, if I go to customize this laptop, you'll see that the CPU is here, and we don't get any option here to remove Windows. We can, however, switch to Windows 10 Home, which would knock off £100 here. So I'd go ahead and do that. Now this is a bit weird, since it does say in the documentation of this laptop that Linux is supported, so you'd think they'd let you ship it without Windows installed. For some reason, the default language is French, but I'll keep it that way, no problem. Don't need any additional software. I'll configure it with 32 gigs of RAM, 512 gig SSD, and here we go. We can choose our display. So yeah, 1080p display is fine, and the 3070 is significantly cheaper, as you can see, than a 3080. There is an 810 British pound difference to go down to a 3070 with 8 gigs RAM rather than a 3080 with 16. So I'll go ahead and do that as well. And the rest is pretty standard. So as you can see, with this configuration, we get 2,871 British pounds with a 718 pound discount. But again, as you can see, ships in more than 6 weeks. So apparently the chip shortage is hitting Lenovo hard here, and the shipping times are ridiculous.
I have no doubt that the ThinkPad laptops are great. Having used them both under the IBM and Lenovo branding, I know that they are fantastic machines that last a long time and have a very solid build quality, as well as great Linux support. However, both the machines I've reviewed here go over my budget, and that's without factoring in shipping costs and import duties. So this is not looking promising. Now, besides Lenovo, the other major laptop brand with great Linux support is Dell. So let's see what Dell has to offer.
So again, with Dell, filtering down by the specifications which I need, which you can see I've put them here, okay? We get these 4 laptops. However, these 2 guys here are Alienware laptops. They tend to be quite heavy, or at least bigger than I need them to be, and they have a very gamery aesthetic, which I don't need. So it's going to be one of these 2, either the Dell G15 Special Edition or the new XPS 15. Starting with the G15 here, you can see that even though this is not technically a gaming laptop, it's still being sold as a gaming laptop. I mean, look at this butt here. It is very gamery and also quite big.
And you can see here that it's clearly still targeted at gamers, which kind of makes sense considering the 3060 that is here for this special edition. The price, however, is very good considering the specifications that are here. You can see that there's less to customize. In this case, it's just choosing an operating system. And interestingly, we can switch to Ubuntu Linux, which reduces £50, okay? However, as you can see here, it says the 360 Hz display is not compatible with Linux. So that's a bit, that's a bit unfortunate. We get the 3060, 32 gigs RAM, a 1 terabyte SSD, okay? And the rest is pretty normal stuff. So as you can see with these specifications that you see here, this would be 1,471 British pounds. And as you can see, the shipping in this case is on the 25th of October. Now today is the 21st. So that is actually a very reasonable shipping time here. So that's the Dell G15. Now moving on to the XPS 15 here. We can see that the base price is 2,449, and I'm going to configure it here to see the actual price. We have an option of Windows 10 or Windows 11, but no option for Linux or to remove the operating system. Graphics card, I'm going to go with the, as you can see here, the problem is that the maximum graphics card here is the 3050 Ti, and I really wanted at least a 3060. It is 32 gigs RAM, hard disk we can go down to 512, and the display, yeah, 1200. Okay, so this is a 16:10 aspect ratio. That's fine as well. And as you can see with these specifications here, this Dell XPS 15 and these XPS laptops, of course, are kind of an industry standard. They're legendarily good. and it is 1,974 pounds. So that's actually very, very reasonable considering how good this laptop is. You can see more information about it here, of course, on their own website. Links to all these laptops will be in the video description. So that's a pretty good contender here from Dell.
So, 4 good laptops from 2 very reputable manufacturers with great Linux support. None of them exactly fit the bill in terms of either specs or price, but I'd be willing to make some compromises in price, so it's not all bad. Now, let's move on to lesser known brands, but ones which specialize on Linux laptops. Manufacturers of Linux-specific laptops typically use a white label manufacturer such as Clevo to configure the parts and the look that they want, and then sell these laptops with Linux pre-installed. Now, there's nothing inherently different about these laptops, but buying one of them, you're supporting a company which has dedicated itself fully to Linux, which gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling inside. The manufacturers we'll be looking at are System 76, Purism, Slimbook, and Tuxedo.
Starting with System 76, there are 2 laptops that meet my requirements, which are the Gazelle and the Oryx Pro. Now, starting from the Gazelle, you can see here that we have to eliminate it straight away. Now, I'll tell you why. You see, if I go to Design and Buy here, you can see that there are options for a 3050, a 3050 Ti, or a 3060. Now, if I choose the 3060, however, I must then choose the 17.3-inch display, and I really don't want a laptop that's big. Now, obviously, I could choose the 3050 Ti, but I mean, come on. I really want a 3060. So that would constrict me to choosing the 17-inch display. Again, I'll configure it with 32 gigs of RAM and a 500 gig SSD. No extra chargers and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. And no extra warranty, etc. So with this configuration here, and this would come with Pop! OS, which is System 76's customized version of Ubuntu. As you can see, this would be $2,241. However, this is an American company and I'm in Europe, so I need to also factor in import duties and VAT. But still, a very, very compelling laptop
If only I could get it with a 3060 and a 15-inch display. Moving on to the next laptop from System 76, we have the Oryx Pro. Now this is by far System 76's most highly regarded laptop, with an all-metal, aluminum, I believe, construction, or aluminium, depending on how you say that. Again, I'm going to go to Design and Buy here. And again, I'm going to choose the 3070 this time. And as you can see, with the 3070, I can still get the 15-inch display. So that's a combination that I really like. I mean, obviously, the 3080 would be nice, but for $649 more, no. The processor, not much to choose here. Upgrade the RAM to 32 gigs, 500 gig SSD, and nothing else pretty much. And as you can see, that brings the total to $2,419 for a very, very high quality laptop here. System 76's premier one, at least in my opinion. And obviously, again, I need to add VAT and import duties here. It's also nice that this display is 144 Hz, which is more than enough for me, but it's also pretty good for gaming, obviously, at that refresh rate. Interestingly as well, these System 76 laptops have an open source BIOS called Core Boot. So it's actually down to the firmware level that is open source. So yeah, that is definitely some added points here immediately. Now looking at the Purism laptop, this is a very nice minimalistic laptop with a really nice size and a beautiful 14-inch display. As you can see, it's really, really minimalistic, but I really like this. And don't let its diminutive size fool you. It can go up to 64 gigs of RAM with a Core i7, okay? Pretty good ports here, including, as you can see, USB-C and an Ethernet jack, okay? And as well as hardware kill switches to disable the camera and microphone, as well as wireless and Bluetooth. Obviously, Purism are very much focused on privacy and security. However, unfortunately, I have to eliminate this laptop straight away. Although I really support what Purism is doing, they don't have a dedicated graphics card for this laptop. As you can see here, it's Intel UHD graphics. And considering I am a gamer and I also edit videos, I'd really like to have that dedicated graphics card. It also doesn't have a Thunderbolt port, unfortunately, and it also uses a 10th generation Intel CPU rather than the 11th generation that the other laptops use. So unfortunately, as much as I really like the design and the whole ethos of this laptop, I'm going to have to eliminate it straight away. Now, one other extremely popular manufacturer of Linux-specific laptops is Slimbook. They actually have some really nice laptops here, but I've immediately narrowed it down to the Titan, which has the dedicated graphics cards that I need. And scrolling down, you can see that although this is clearly a gaming laptop with the RGB and so on, it is still, I think, a really nice laptop. I mean, it's not over the top, it has lots of ports, a very powerful CPU and GPU combination, as you can see, with either AMD Radeon graphics or a GeForce RTX 3070. It also has optomechanical key switches, which is great for long sessions of typing, although I typically use an external keyboard, and really good connectivity. Everything about this laptop is pretty much perfect, except for one thing. It doesn't have a Thunderbolt port, which I do understand because obviously this is an AMD Ryzen 9 CPU, and AMD laptops don't have the ability to add a Thunderbolt port at this point, which is a huge pity because otherwise this would be an extremely compelling system here. And I still honestly might consider it even without the Thunderbolt port, but obviously that would mean I'd need to buy a few new devices as well. The last manufacturer we're considering is Tuxedo Computers. Now, honestly, I was absolutely blown away by the large number of laptop models that Tuxedo Computers have and how immensely configurable they are. I had a really hard time narrowing it down to the one that I like.
They all have an amazing set of specifications and a fantastic price. I was, however, particularly drawn to this guy here, the Tuxedo Book. This is the 12th generation Tuxedo Book, which, as you can see, goes up to an RTX 3080 Max-Q and G-Sync with 300 Hz at 4K. Okay, so that's also a very, very high refresh rate display. And again, we can configure this guy, as you can see. So with the default 144 Hz display is fine for me, although you can also get it with a 3080 here, or you can get it with a 3070 Max-Q. So I think I'd go for the 3070 probably. Yep. And as you can see, the configuration options are really quite fantastic, guys. I'll configure it with 32 gigabytes of RAM, a 500 gigabyte SSD, and again, you can really choose what kind of drive you want. So I'll choose the NVMe drive. The keyboard layout, obviously I choose English, Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.2. You can even choose the pre-installed version of Linux. You can even add Windows on it, the type of warranty that you want, the type of power cord that you want. I mean, I am absolutely impressed with how incredibly configurable this laptop is. In fact, I might actually choose this guy for home, and if not, this will probably be the laptop I buy when it comes to time to upgrade my work laptop. Anyway, with this configuration, as you can see, this is 2,119 euro. And the nice thing here is that taxes are included in this price. And since it's in Germany, I'd not have to pay any additional VAT or import duties.
It's now time to make a decision. I've included a table here which summarizes my findings. You should know that most of these laptops are configurable, so the specs I'm showing here are just the configuration that I would choose. You should also know that the price does not include shipping or import duties, which may vary depending on your country. I've colored items which match my requirements in green, items which don't match my requirements but which I'd be willing to compromise on in yellow, and items which don't match my requirements and I'm not willing to compromise on in red. Eliminating those laptops which don't fit my requirements and those where I'd need to compromise, I'm left with the Dell G15 Special Edition, the System 76 Oryx Pro, and the Tuxedo Book. Now, I'm going to be honest here, this is not an easy choice, but presented with three good laptops, I have to nitpick. Well, I'm eliminating the Dell, since although it has the most competitive price, it does have an RTX 3060, whilst the other machines have an RTX 3070 and are still within budget. So between these two, I'm gonna have to eliminate the Tuxedo Book. Now, this was not an easy choice. However, the Oryx Pro does have an 11th generation Core i7 processor compared to the Book's 10th gen, and a Thunderbolt 4 port compared to the Book's Thunderbolt 3 port. So there you have it, ladies and gents. The laptop I'm going to get is the System 76 Oryx Pro. Now, just because I chose this laptop, it doesn't mean you should too. What you choose depends on your requirements, shipping costs to your country, the brand you like, and many other things. But for my requirements at least, the Oryx Pro is a winner. I'll be ordering the Oryx Pro and then of course doing an obligatory unboxing and review. In the meantime, why not get subscribed to this channel and hit that bell notification icon to be notified when new videos are released. I plan much more for this port series, as well as Tech Guru in general, so there's a lot of upcoming stuff to see. And if you're a superstar, please consider supporting me financially on Patreon. All this new tech isn't cheap, and I'd certainly appreciate it immensely. I'll catch you in the next one, and as always, thanks for watching.